whispers. It is 11 a.m. in London. It is 6 p.m. in Beijing. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One. Also ahead, James Murdoch has flatly denied knowing about, James Murdoch has again denied that when he took charge of the company that owned the News of the World, he knew phone hacking was widespread. He made the comments while being grilled at an inquiry into British press standards. Right now, the former chairman of British newspaper publisher News International is in court facing questions about the phone hacking scandal engulfing his family's media empire and his knowledge of what went on at News of the World. We'll join us now live from the Royal Courts of Justice in London with more on this testimony. Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all coming back in the last few minutes to this For Neville email, a damning email, a smoking gun email, some would say, that proved...
Thank you for that, Dan Rivers there at the Royal Courts of Justice here in London. Well, since the phone hacking scandal really blew up, James Murdoch's portfolio has been getting smaller by the month. Last year, he was still heavily involved in UK media, particularly in News Corp's part or wholly owned television and newspapers businesses like Sky B and News International. He resigned as News International chairman in February amid pressure mounting over the hacking scandal. The official excuse then, he was to focus on pay TV. Then Murdoch Jr. quit as Sky B chairman in April. He did stay on as non-executive director, not surprising as the Murdochs own a hefty chunk of the company. We are watching developments out of the Netherlands today. Prime Minister Mark Rutte will address Parliament shortly, just a day after failed budget negotiations with his far-right coalition partners forced his government to collapse. It led to his resignation, leaving another European country in turmoil over just how best to manage its debt. Let's see what newspapers are saying about this. The Wall Street Journal Europe has a headline reading, Holland, not Hollande is a bigger worry. It's a common piece about the French politics, as we've been talking about. Never mind the French presidential elections, the collapse of the fiscally hawkish Dutch government could be a bigger shock for Europe. Austerity is proving a tough sell even for its biggest supporters. If even the northern core of the Eurozone is failing to live up to its budget promises, investors may begin again to doubt the currency bloc's ability as a whole to manage the crisis. In South Africa, there's this headline in Business Day: Dutch and French politics bring us back to reality. It comments on the role of politics in Europe's economic troubles, and it goes on to say last year's debt crisis highlighted the need for some sort of fiscal union. But how popular can you stay if you surrender further fiscal sovereignty to Brussels? Look no further than French and Dutch politics. Politicians who approve austerity measures are at risk of being voted out, and new leaders can win elections on the strength of the country, leaving the euro in the mistaken belief that austerity measures could be alleviated. And there's an opinion piece in the UK newspaper The Guardian headlined "Running Out of Road," and it says Europe is on the move. The Merc in the Merkozy austerity pact is about to lose its back wheels as Angela Merkel is racing against time to lock the austerity measures into EU law. Institutions and its executive, the politics of key member states, are moving in the opposite direction. Well, there were fears that the Dutch government's collapse would cause borrowing costs to rise, but a bond auction held this morning passed with little effect, and on that front, things are steady. Well, whether that remains the case depends on what happens next in the Netherlands. It is one of only 4 countries in the Eurozone that has a AAA credit rating, which is now at risk. CNN's Atika Shubert is following the story. She joins us now with more on that. Atika, what choice did the Prime Minister have at this point? He had to, some would say, take those austerity measures.
Well, exactly. The Netherlands sort of talked themselves into a corner on this one. They were one of the toughest proponents of these severe austerity measures, saying, no, it doesn't matter. These countries need to keep their budgets in line. Just look at us. For decades, we've managed to keep our budgets perfectly in order. And now here they are looking at a possible budget deficit next year of 4.6 or 4.7%. This is projected.
Right, Atika, thank you very much for that. You are watching World One live from London. A merciless military attack smothers hopes of a short reprieve. Activists say the Syrian army has assaulted the city of Hama and left a bloodbath in its wake. A small town only a few dozen kilometers from the Turkish border, but people who lived there say when the Syrian army came rolling through, they destroyed everything in sight. Some people reportedly burned beyond recognition. Others died under the rubble of the buildings. And this report from Taftanaz comes from ITN's John Irvine.
2 weeks after the massacre, the flowers on the mass graves may be wilting.
Now to the biggest political scandal to hit China in years, the stunning downfall of one-time Communist Party powerhouse Bo Xilai. It's a story of mystery, death and financial intrigue that's being discussed pretty much everywhere except inside China, where people are too afraid to talk. But now an insider has opened up to CNN, and Stan Grant has his story for us now from CNN Beijing. Stan.
Yeah, what a story this is. You know, we've been following it now.
Stan, thank you. Stan Grant in Beijing. This is World One, live from London. An ongoing political drama comes to a head in South Africa today as a controversial former member of the ruling African National Congress Party finds out if he'll be expelled for good. Julius Malema used to head up the ANC's Youth League, but he was suspended in November after publicly criticizing party leader and South African President Jacob Zuma. Since then, he's been trying to fight that decision. CNN's Nkapile Mabuse is following developments for us from Johannesburg. She joins us now live. Nkapile Mabuse there in Johannesburg. The president of South Sudan has claimed that neighboring Sudan has declared war on his country. The government in Sudan hasn't openly said it's at war, but South Sudan's Salva Kiir made the allegation after weeks of growing tension between the two countries. Now, earlier, South Sudan said a 12-year-old boy was among two people killed. Second day of testimony is about to begin in the trial of the man accused of killing 3 members of the American singer Jennifer Hudson's family. Shaken and tearful, Hudson took the stand on Monday. Biggest matches of the European football season so far takes place later on Tuesday in Barcelona. Here's Amanda Davis with more on that. Hello.
Hi, yeah, it's a place in the European Champions League final that is up for grabs.
Thank you very much for that. You are watching World One live from London. Coming up, we'll tell you what's trending online and what's heading your way on the weather front with Mari Ramos. Hello, Mari. Let's take a look at what's trending on social media right now. At number 3, donations are pouring in from around the world after a woman died near the end of her fundraising run in the London Marathon. Claire Squires had raised $800 for the Samaritans, a charity that provides support for people in distress. Since news of her death, contributions have skyrocketed to over $600,000, pouring in at a rate of about $22,000 per hour. At number 2, Facebook has delivered more friend requests than ever. The social network site says it has over 900 million people using its site, and web experts say that could reach 1 billion in just a few months' time. Now, to put that in perspective, if Facebook were a country, there would only be 2 with bigger populations: China and India. And at number 1, James Murdoch's appearance at a British inquiry into press ethics is getting a lot of buzz online. Among other things, the inquiry is asking him about phone hacking at the now defunct tabloid News of the World. Users are fascinated with the ongoing saga. Murdoch's name is the most discussed topic in Europe right now. Hurricane force winds off the coast of France, and guess what? There is more on the way as another storm system approaches. Meteorologist Mari Ramos is at CNN World Weather Center with more on that. Hello, Mari.
Hello, Monita. Yeah, this has been a big weather system. It has been pushing through across the part.
Yeah, absolutely stunning, Mari. Thank you very much. You are watching World One live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for joining us. Do stay with us, though. We will bring you more live coverage of James Murdoch's testimony at the Levison inquiry at the top of the hour. Stay with us here on CNN.